Hello, welcome to our 2021 virtual camp open house for our early childhood age group. That's ages 3 to 6 years old. A year ago, I would never have believed in a million years that this is what I would be doing 1 year later. But I am thrilled that we're at this point. We had a successful camp season last year, so we are really looking forward to our summer camps this year. Just to let you know, we are recording this meeting tonight. So if you need to go back and review any information, you will be able to do that. You'll be able to find the video online at prparks.org. We're going to get started tonight by introducing the speakers. My name is Julie Grieve. I'm the Recreation Program Division Manager. I oversee the programs at the Park District. And yes, I did decide to grow my bangs out during quarantine, so my picture looks a little off. With me tonight, I've got Molly Jacobson, our preschool and early childhood supervisor, along with Jenny Clausen, our Wildwood Nature Center supervisor. So even though staff are currently working on our camp brochure, our information, we're on our first draft was due tonight. So we're working diligently based on the guidelines we have right now. Our camp brochure will be released to you on March 29th. You'll be able to see it on our website, or you will receive an email. You can also find it on our Facebook page. But even though we don't have our brochure out, we just wanted to give you a sneak peek tonight of what we're going to be offering. So this is just an overview of what we'll have for the early childhood age group. Along with going through what we'll have to offer, we are also going to go through the steps of how to register to make sure that you are prepared and ready to go for the April 5th registration date for residents and April 9th if you are a non-resident. Again, tonight you will see what our camps will look like based on our current guidelines. If the guidelines do change, we will adapt our camps to meet the new guidelines. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Molly Jacobson.
Hello. Many of you, well, some of you might have seen Jenny and I and Julie do this a couple weeks ago. So some of this might be a little bit of a repeat, but I hope not. So our program guidelines that we sort of work under during the pandemic, like everyone in Illinois, we have to work under the guidelines of some governing bodies. Many of these that you're going to see on the screen, you might recognize, you know, like the CDC and the Illinois Department of Public Health. But that one on the bottom, the American Campus Association, is something that you might not be as familiar with, but it does really come into play when we're doing our, when we're programming and developing our camps. So the American Camp Association, which I'm just going to keep calling the ACA, it's an organization that consists of professionals that work around the country in the camp industry. So these are, they set the guidelines for day camps and overnight camps, but we're accredited with them. We're very proud of that accreditation. It's a very hard thing to earn, and we're very proud of it. We've been accredited since 2012. So we use those guidelines because they provide us really just kind of a roadmap on what is a successful camp program. So the summer camp recreation team uses not only the ACA guidelines, but we also have to use these other governing bodies when we were developing our plan for this year. So like Julie mentioned, and you're going to keep hearing us say this, you know, right now what we're working on is the guidelines that were provided for us in this phase 4. If something changes, we will adjust our program. So if we have to get more strict, we have a plan to do that. If we have the guidelines loosening up a little bit, we're ready for that as well. So you're going to hear us keep repeating that. I mean, it really has to do with the wait list too, because if we can move forward with some of our plans and increase some of our the camps, then we're going to go to those wait lists rather than hold a separate registration. So we really, you know, you're going to hear us saying that a lot because we, you know, we really want to make sure that you guys are kind of understanding that. So any correspondence that we do, any changes that we have, we're going to email you. So we want to make sure that you guys are that you have the correct email in the registration system, which is RecTrack. So we'll use that as well as EPAC. So EPAC is, in case you're not familiar with it, is the database that we use to collect family information and information about your child. We will sometimes pull emails from them. So those two emails really should match. You should be using the same email for both of those, whoever you want the head of the household to be in charge of getting that information. Unfortunately, we can't do 2 emails per family. It's only going to be 1. So if you need to share that information with somebody else, a nanny, a grandparent, another parent, that is going to fall on the responsibility of whoever is that main household person on that email. But any changes that we do make, we will email out to our registered participants.
Molly, I'm gonna stop you right there. Just one more housekeeping item that I forgot to mention is that we're going to ask all the participants to use the chat feature today. So if you have any questions, we will review all the questions in the chat at the end of our presentation, and items that are not covered by our presentation, we're going to try to answer as many of those tonight as we can. Please include your email address with your question so that if we do not get to your question tonight, we will go ahead and follow up with an email later. So again, please use the chat box for any questions, and any questions that are not covered by our presentation. At the end, we will review those, try to answer as many as we can. Make sure to include your email address with your questions. So if we don't get to your question tonight, we will definitely follow up with you later.
All right. Okay, so we go to the next slide, Julie.
I got it.
So this year we have made some changes, but you'll still see some familiar things as we kind of go through our plan. So one of those things for that still remains the same as our camp to staff ratios. So in the past, it was always 6 to 1. So 6 campers for every 1 camp counselor. We use adult because the ACA, we have to have a certain age group, which is a good thing, especially for our early childhood camps, for 18-year-olds and 21-year-olds for our campsite coordinators. So that 6 to 1 ratio is remaining the same. Our maxes that we are going to have for our early childhood camps are set to those phase 4 guidelines. If this changes and we're able to add additional staff and increase participants, we'll go back to those wait lists like I mentioned. So if you don't get in, make sure that you're adding your name to any wait list. It does not cost any money to add your name to a wait list, and we will reach out to you as soon as the spot opens up. There's so many changes that happen in normal times. So, you know, we go to our wait lists a lot. So, you know, we're going to be like a broken record on that one, and I apologize, but we just really want you guys to know that. So, so this year we're cutting down on mixing groups. That's one of the things in phase 4 that we cannot do. So we're running 2-week camps this year instead of our 1-week camps to minimize the number of kids and counselors that are going to be around each other. So we just also want to remind you that I know that's different from years past, but we will not reimburse partially missed camps due to travel or vacation plans. And we understand that this may be an inconvenience as in years past, but we feel that this is the safest way for us, and it's the best interest for our campers and our staff to do this 2-week schedule. So at this time, most of our buildings in the Park District are still not open to the public. Only program participants can enter our buildings. And I know that in the early childhood camps especially, you might be used to dropping off and saying goodbye to your little ones at the door because it might have been the first time, but we just can't have that many people in the building. And again, that goes back to our safety requirements set forth by those governing bodies. So our drop off and our pickups will be outside. All of our registered participants will receive an email about the specific camp locations and the directions on where to drop off before their 2-week session begins. So again, make sure that your emails are up to date. Just like our ratio rule, this rule is not related to COVID, but it's worth mentioning for the peace of mind that we do not go on any field trips in our early childhood camps. We all stay on site. Our learning camps over at the main park, we use our gated parks, and we only go to the Wildwood campus for maybe a walk around the pond. And the Wildwood campus, or the Wildwood camps, might come over to the main park campus to maybe use a park, but we don't leave either one of those campuses. At drop-off, when you bring your child to our camp program, we're going to ask you to confirm that your household is symptom-free of any COVID symptoms and that no one has been exposed. Just to save time, if you're going to answer yes to any of those questions, just go ahead and stay home. It may seem extreme. It's been something that we put into place, from these governing bodies back in August when we started our early childhood preschool programs here at the Main Park preschool as well as Wildwood, and it's worked. So our families have been completely transparent regarding COVID. And we're really confident that our summer camp families will also show this program the same respect for the health and safety of their fellow campers, their fellow camper families, as well as our staff. So this is an important thing that we ask all of you to, if you're registered for camp, we ask you that you respect that rule. So some things that you are going to be responsible for daily to help our camps run smoothly, especially for the little campers, since this might be the first time, are snack time. So we're going to ask you to bring a snack, maybe sometimes lunch, and maybe sometimes 2 snacks in one day, depending on the camp that you do attend. So we ask that you provide your snack. You can bring a lunch box, that's fine, but anything that your food is touching, we ask that it's something that's tossable. So I'm not sure if some of you are familiar with those plastic reusable bento boxes, but we ask that you don't use those this year. If your child doesn't finish their food, we're going to throw it out because you don't know, somebody could have touched it, somebody could have sneezed on it, coughed. They're little kids, and we want to be certain that we're not spreading food or germs home on those uneaten food, and something that can't be washed. So that is the main reason for that. But you can use a normal lunchbox, and we will just throw all of those bags, and wax paper is a popular one. We're seeing a lot of that, and we will toss or recycle that rather than send it home. We ask that you bring a water bottle. You can bring in a reusable water bottle. We have water fountains throughout Main Park and Wildwood Nature Center that we can refill your child's water bottle. We will make this, and we always have made this a priority. We want to keep our kids hydrated. So you can send in one of those. It is your responsibility to bring in a cloth face covering and in a backpack every day. This face covering should cover their nose and their mouth. And it is a really good idea for all of the kids to practice wearing that if they're not familiar with doing that now. I will tell you that most of the kids, they don't really care. They just need to get used to it. So it's almost like, when you buy them a new pair of flip-flops, and, it takes them a couple times just to walk around in them before they get used to it, but they eventually do. I feel, a funny story, and Jenny might be able to agree with me. Sometimes it's the teachers and the older staff, myself included, that I'm like, I need a face mask break, but those kids can wear their face mask every day for the whole time. So we do ask that you send one in and pack an extra one in their bag in case, it gets dirty. Sometimes the kids might get them a little wet. So it's always nice to have a spare one. We do have emergency ones that we can use that are child size appropriate. But we ask that you provide your own for camp. You need to bring in a change of clothes. We do water play, and children must be able to change out of their wet clothes into their dry clothes. So if they're playing in the water and they're wearing some swimming clothes, it's in your best interest and their best interest for you guys to practice taking those clothes off and putting their new clothes on. Of course, it's something new and we're all learning, but we want to respect our staff and your families as well. And, we're just trying to avoid that really close contact between the kids and the counselors. If we have to help them, we'll make sure that the kids are all comfortable. But if you could start working on that self-help skill now, it will make things a lot easier in the summer. We ask that you bring a beach towel, and with, you'll hear this time and time again, label everything, first and last name. So I wish we would have brought the lost and found picture. We usually have that during our camp open houses, where we just have the hallway lined with water bottles and socks. And I mean, you don't need to label socks necessarily, but it doesn't hurt to, the beach towels galore. I mean, it's quite an impressive collection. So we do ask that you do label that stuff, because then we know who to send it home to. And finally, sunscreen. We're going to ask you guys to apply sunscreen to your little ones before drop off, and we will reapply throughout the day. We use SPF sunscreen here at the early childhood camps, and we do use the spray ones because we are not going to rub any lotions onto the children. If you want some, I know sometimes there's might be an allergy or sensitivity, and you want your child to have that that lotion, you should start teaching your children how to do that. We can squirt a little bit in their hands, but they will need to rub it all over themselves. And from experience, don't assume that your children may know how to do this, because we've seen, you know, kids get it in their eyes, sometimes in their mouth, and, you know, we're trying to help them, but we really, I mean, it's against our ACA rule to you know, to touch the kids, and you don't really want us to do that anyway. So our illness plan during this COVID summer, if a staff member or a camper is exhibiting any symptoms of COVID during the camp hours, we have a special designated isolated space that is climate controlled, so it's comfortable. It's also well ventilated, and there is a cot in there that's child size. So the child or the staff will be moved to that area away from all of the camp, and we will use the EPEC form to contact. We'll start, you know, at the parents and start just going down the list. We need somebody to come and get that child immediately. We don't want them to be uncomfortable, and we don't want, you know, we want to isolate that exposure. So if you maybe work in the city, you might want to have somebody on that pickup list that's more local, that will be able to come and help you out in the case that something like this does happen. It's better to think ahead than have to worry about it at the time of. So that would be something that you would put on that EPAC form. If the camper or one of the staff will always stay with the child until he or she can be picked up. So you know, we'll always keep the child comfortable, bring in some books, you know, play some songs and stuff until they can get picked up, but they will be isolated. If there is somebody in camp that is exhibiting these symptoms, we will be notifying everybody that was if in that camp, if there was a confirmed case, if there was an exposed to a confirmed case or a possible case of COVID-19 via email. So that goes back to making sure that that email is the correct one that we have on file, so we can share that information with you. We do ask that families who have a confirmed case or were exposed, or even if they just want to self-quarantine, that they reach out to us and let us know that. There needs to be that transparency, because we need to determine, and we have, you know, we have a really good sort of flow chart on how we determine who we reach out to. It's been very successful in preschool since August. We're very confident of the success of it, but it goes back to everybody being very transparent about these things. If you do reach out to Jenny or myself, or even Julie, and say, you know, I'm self-quarantining, we had an exposure, we're not showing any symptoms, but I don't want to get anybody else sick, we will not charge you for any days that you do not attend. So you do get the credit on your account. If you do have a confirmed case, we will be asking you for a doctor's or a physician's note to return, that they're no longer, anybody in your household is no longer communicable before they can return back. But like I said, you will be getting that credit on your account. So if we, you know, right now we're using the phase 4 guidelines for this, like we mentioned, and I looked it up today, it's still a 14-day quarantine if you were exposed. So if you called and and we're still in phase 4, and you called and you said, I'm going to, we're self-quarantining at home, and it's the latter part of camp, like, we're just going to refund you the whole camp and fill your spot with somebody on the wait list. So because of that 14-day window is kind of a long time, but it won't affect any of your future camp registrants. So if you're registered and you self-quarantine during week 2 and 3, it's not going to affect week 3 and 4 that you are registered for, as long as you are not showing any symptoms, or you have that doctor's note to come back. So, but we do ask that, you know, we want to accommodate everybody on that wait list. And if there's a spot available and we can fill it, we will. So on to the fun stuff. All right. So our early childhood camps, this is what I think everybody is interested in, what they're going to look like this year. So when we were developing our camp this year, our camps, we, we thought long and hard about it and really realized that a lot of our kiddos that we see and a lot of our families that we see come through our programs, we didn't see this year. And we thought, you know what, a lot of parents have reached out to me. They're a little nervous, especially for our ones that are entering kindergarten. So we thought we would sort of have like a hybrid approach to our camp this year, which is why we're calling it our learning camps. So, so what are these learning camps? Well, we're going to provide some exposure to some learning goals to all of our campers. We will use our preschool curriculum, and we, as a staff, will go through and sort of determine the important things that we really think we should start exposing some of these kids to. If your child did go to a program this summer, an in-person program, they're still going to experience camp, like they're still going to have that, but we're going to pepper in some of those learning things. We're going to have resource teachers, so our preschool staff, we're going to have them come in and work as sort of a resource helper to some of our camp counselors that, so we can, sort of teach them how to practice some of these learning goals. And we're also going to be visiting in those rooms and maybe running some of those learning opportunities to the children, sort of on, different days. But that doesn't mean that we're going to replace all of the fun activities that we're doing in camp. So like I said, it's going to be a hybrid approach. All of our camps are going to be at Main Park in our preschool bubble for our early childhood learning camps. So our bubble locks down. That means that nobody can get in or out unless they come to the preschool office, and we know who's coming and going. And it also means that the children are, sort of tucked away safe in their rooms. So we're going to use our full preschool rooms. We'll have all of our supplies out and available for the kids and the camp counselors and those resource teachers to use. So that's something new that we're really excited about. We have 6 total classrooms in our preschool bubble. So we'll have 2 dedicated rooms for each camp. And each of those rooms has access to 2 gated parks. So we have our Oak Tree Park, which is one that you might see that has the big playground on it. And then we have our 2-year-old park, which we use for our water play. The gated water play and our playground will be on a schedule. So none of the kids will be out there at the same time. So there will be, so the kids may not have water play every day, but they will have it every week. Because we need to move those schedules so that everybody can get an opportunity. As we move closer to our camp start dates, we're going to follow the guidelines that are in effect at that time to determine the level of water play that we can provide to our young campers. So during normal times in our water play area, we have sprinklers, baby pools, and water tables that the kids play with. Some kids really enjoy getting in the water and some do not like getting wet. So we like to give the different options for the kids so that as long as everybody's having a good time. There's a video out there of the kids chasing all the camp counselors. I really think that's the fun thing that they like to do, is see how wet they can get our camp counselors. So, which is very fun to watch. So we will have 2-week themes, provide those fun activities. In the past, we've had things like Under the Big Top, we have luau's, we do dinosaur days. So we're going to provide those themes, and those learning goals are going to be peppered in there to kind of enhance some of those things. It's one of the fun parts about being in early childhood is getting to be so creative with how you're sort of sneaking in a lot of that learning stuff. So we will provide those themes to everybody on our website as we get a little bit closer, like we do in years past. So keep an eye out for those as well. Just a couple reminders of this age group that I really need to stress is that the kids need to be 100% potty trained. And that means that they can do all of their toileting themselves. They also need to be able to dress themselves, like I mentioned earlier. We understand that shoes are tricky, so we can help with shoes, we can help with buckles, we can help with that sort of stuff, but the children need to understand how to do those self-help skills, dress themselves. And that is things that for this age group that are age appropriate, and you can always dress your children. I mean, if you know that they can't do buckles, then don't send them in buckles, just give them some shorts they can pop on and off. So you know your kids best and what they can and can't do, so we just ask that you help with that. They need to be age appropriate by September 2021. That means what grade they're going into next year. So this might be a little bit confusing for, let's use an example, for a summer birthday that's going off to kindergarten. So if your child turns 5 in July, even though they're 4, you're going to want to send them to that kickoff to kindergarten camp if they're going off to kindergarten, because that's going to be the peer group that they're going to go with. So you're going to want to send them with their friends. And sunscreen, like I said, make sure if you're sending in that lotion sunscreen that you that your kids do know how to play with that, or I'm sorry, that they do know how to apply that. So our different groups that we have here, we have Playtime Partners, which is for our 3-year-olds. Unfortunately, we don't have a 2-year-old camp this year, and it comes down to that potty training and that separation. We will have some activities in our summer classes that will be for that age group, but for this independent without adult camp, we are starting at age 3. So in our 3-year-old camps, we'll go from 9 a.m. to 11:30. They will have one snack during that time, so they will need to bring that. Some of the learning goals that we would work on those self-help skills, washing our hands by ourselves, how to clean up our toys, really starting to work on those peer interactions. So noticing the kids around me and how do I play with them? Like, how do I share with them? How do I tell them I don't like that? Those kind of things. Those are things that we would work on in our 3-year-old preschool programs. So we're going to really kind of bring that over and work on that with these little guys. We're also going to introduce maybe some letter recognition and some counting, little things like that. So you might see some stuff come home with that, because the kids really enjoy doing stuff with that learning, with those learning goals. Discovery Days is for our incoming 4-year-olds. So this is a half-day camp from 9 a.m. to 1:30. So they will have a snack in the morning, and then they will stay and eat lunch all together. So you will need to pack a lunch in a separate, you should pack them separately, because it really confuses the kids when they see they want to have their whole lunch at 10 o'clock, and we're like, you're gonna need to save that. So you're gonna want to send those in separate containers. Usually a bag and a lunchbox will do good. So some of the learning goals we would do with them, again, those self-help skills, we would work on fine and gross motor skills, holding a pencil, using some scissors. Can I climb on things? Can I jump with 2 feet? We're going to do some pre-writing skills. Can I write my name? Do I know how to trace things? And we're going to do some reading skills, sight words and things like that. We're going to do an introduction with those, along with all of our other fun camp things. And then finally, our kickoff to kindergarten camp. Those are for all of the kiddos that are going off to kindergarten in the fall. That is an all-day camp. So that's going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So they will be eating a morning and an afternoon snack, as well as lunch. So you will need to send all of that stuff in with your child. Our big learning goals are kindergarten readiness. We are going to work really hard to get these kids ready for kindergarten. We're going to work on writing. We're going to work on sight words, following multi-step directions, and we're going to go through our curriculum and really sort of highlight a lot of the things that we see. A couple things to keep in mind. And I want to say we will provide a session newsletter that will sort of outline our theme for each session that we are going to have, and maybe what our focus is going to be. So for maybe the 4-year-old camp will have a specific learning goal that will be shared with you in a newsletter that will go out to all of our registered participants via email. We will build on these concepts as a camp as we move through the summer. So if you are only attending weeks 5 and 6, we aren't going to start at the very beginning with your child. We're just going to keep moving through, and that's going to be okay. Don't feel like you're going to miss out on anything if you're going on a trip, or you're not able to get into maybe the first couple ones. Your kids will be fine. They will still be getting all of this exposure, because we're not doing any mastery. So this is really just sort of practice on a lot of these skills. It isn't like, oh, guys know how to do that, now we're going to move on. So we're just going to really kind of rehash a lot of this stuff to get them ready for their next year program, whatever that will be in the fall. We will not provide any assessments on their progress or any report cards, but you can always reach out to myself or Miss Brooke in the preschool office, and one of us can go in and kind of get an idea of how your child is doing and share that information with you. You know, I just want to remind you, I know this, the learning camp idea is really a neat idea, the hybrid model, but I just really want to stress that it's still camp. We're still going to have fun. We're still going to go outside as much as we can. We're still going to try to do as much water play as the phase that we're in allows us to do. We're still going to play till, you know, we're going to learn our silly songs and all of our camp themes. We're still going to do all of that stuff. So this is not replacing camp with a preschool, but again, it's just sort of filling in some of maybe those learning opportunities that the kids didn't get to have this year because of the pandemic. So, yes, and that's all for me. So I'm going to move it over to Jenny. Sure, you're ready to hear from someone else. So I'm going to give it over to Jenny Clausen, and she's going to share with you what her camps are going to look like.
Hello. Wildwood offers 2 early childhood camps this summer. We call them Camp Mini Marshmallow and Wild Child. Both of our programs utilize the nature preschool classrooms as their indoor space. Those are located over at Main Park, and they've got the preschool sized tables and chairs and a restroom just for their class that's also preschool sized and very low to the ground. The majority of our time, usually almost 95% of our time, is spent outdoors. And their outdoor gather space is the wood chips located outside of Main Park and the Forest View parking lots. So most people are familiar with that. That's where our nature preschool meets and also our nature play school meet during the school year. And so we spend the majority of our time outside, but we do have those indoor locations in case there's bad weather. And then also sometimes Mother Nature doesn't lend itself to certain outdoor projects, especially with like 15-mile-an-hour winds. Trying to do craft projects outside is a little difficult. So we will aim to be outside most of the time unless our project brings us inside or the weather brings us inside. We also get to do some water play. So usually on a designated day for the session, maybe 2 days, depending on the temperatures and what's happening, we'll let you know that we're going to be doing water play. And usually that will involve the baby pools, the sprinklers, and also the water table activities. So just kind of mixing it up for all different play interest levels, and then depending on what the guidelines are as well. And then we do nature, science, and animal themes to our program. And so we're outdoor exploring. We're also doing circle time and sharing ideas. We're doing our crafts and our projects. We're playing nature themed games and going on hikes to find certain things specifically, and also just to enjoy the outdoors, see what we can find, listen to the birds, and try to find whatever we're learning about that week. So it's usually nature, science, or animal theme that go along with all the different units. And so then the 2 different programs are Camp Mini Marshmallow and Wild Child. Both of those programs, so the morning program is Camp Mini Marshmallow, and that's for the ages 3 to 5-year-olds. And we do for both of our camps the age as of the start date of the class. So if the class starts June 14th, then they would need to be between 3 and 5 years old on that start date. Same thing for Wild Child. So it's the start date of the class. So obviously the start date would change for each session. So someone who might not make it into the first session because they're not quite 3 yet would be able to make it into a later session. And someone might also age out of Camp Mini Marshmallow, being 5 and turning 6 and go into Wild Child. So both programs are mixed age camps. So meaning that if a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old were both registered for Wild Child, they would be in the same group. So both the 3 to 5s for Camp Mini Marshmallow are all mixed age. There's 3, 4, and 5s all together. And then Wild Child has 4, 5s, and 6s all together. And that's kind of the gist of our 2 camps.
Jenny, there is a specific question to your camps. Traditionally, these camps were in August. Are you planning on doing them in June and July this year?
In the past, Camp Mini Marshmallow was specifically just August. We did not run any early childhood during the summer. Last year, we did utilize our 2 rooms and turn those into early childhood designated for those classes. So Camp Mini Marshmallow will run from June until August, as well as Wild Child. So Camp Mini Marshmallow will run in 2 4-week sessions, no, 4 2-week sessions. There we go. We used to do 4-week sessions. 2 2-week sessions from June until August, same as Wild Child. They'll run for 8 weeks during the summer.
And Jenny, I know you're still working on the brochure, but do you have approximate times that you're running these camps?
Yeah,
And
we're
go
running
ahead.
similar to preschool times, except for we're shifting the start time about 15 minutes because other camps are dropping off at 9. So to kind of keep the parking lot a little more manageable, Marshmallow is going to run from 9:15 until 11:45, so 2.5 hours in the morning. And then Wild Child's running from 12:45 until 3:15.
And also, will you have snack during these camps?
Yes, they're always hungry. So they will be bringing a snack from home. And so we budget that in for our time, and we enjoy snack usually around 10:30 or 11, depending on our daily activities and how hungry they are. They're always hungry.
And just to answer one of the other questions, we do not repeat activities over the summer. So every session and special event for all of our camps are different. So if you're in the first 2 weeks of camp, we'll have a different theme than the last weeks. So you can sign up for the entire summer and enjoy different themes throughout. I'm going to answer just a couple more questions before we go on how to register. I'm just scrolling through, sorry about that. There is a full day nature camp, but that's for ages 6 to 11. I couldn't hear you.
6 to 12.
6 to 12.
There's full day and half day nature camps for those age groups.
There is there's not a before care. Some of our camps start at 8 a.m., some start at 8:30, some start at 9. We do have, for the camps that end at 3, we will have an aftercare from 3 to 6 for ages 6 and older. I guess ages 5 and older, the ones that go to 3 o'clock. And also, Jenny, are these camps 5 days a week, or are they 3 days and 2 days?
They're 3 days and 2 days. So running Camp Mini Marshmallow Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, or Tuesday, Thursday morning. And Wild Child, we're doing Monday, Wednesday afternoon, and Tuesday, Thursday afternoon. So they have Fridays off.
And yes, all children do need to be potty trained. Yes, and someone asked about quarantining. I think that goes back to Molly's slide with COVID. We do ask that you follow the CDC guidelines for traveling over the summer. And if you do go to a hotspot, to be safe and to quarantine if necessary. You will get a household credit back if you registered and you have to pull out because your child is not potty trained. There are specific cutoff dates of when you need to refund or request the refund without getting, I think it's a $25 service fee. You'll be able to find that information into the brochure. Molly, for this one, and then I'm gonna, after this question, we're gonna go ahead and go to how to register, and then we'll do some more questions. Molly, can you go through the cutoff age for preschool camps if there's a child that turns 3 beginning in July? Does they qualify for the 3-year-old camp?
Yeah, whatever camp or whatever program your child is going to be going into next year. So if your child meets the requirements to go into the 3-year-old camp and that's where you're sending your child, that's the camp that you can qualify for, because we want to keep the friends together. So we want to keep, and we will do that, and we do that. District 64 is going to do that. Like, that's why we have that age cutoff. So we are allowing those younger kids that have those summer birthdays, if they're going to be going into a 3-year-old program in the fall. So if in July they're still only 2 and they're potty trained, and you feel like they can do that separation a-okay, and you're pretty confident, then we'll work with you. So, we want to bring them in because those are the kids that they're going to be going off to preschool with in the fall.
So if they're 3 by September 1st, they sign up for 3. If they're 4 by September 1st, they sign up for 4s. If they're 5 by September 1st, they sign up for 5s.
Yep.
Okay.
And
All right,
but the potty train, don't forget it. We were a little concerned about the 2-year-olds coming in and the 3 with the potty training, but we know when a child's potty trained. So if you're on the fence with it, and I mean, you got to be 100%. So we're, unfortunately with this COVID stuff, we can't, and like I said, at the preschool open house, we understand children have accidents. I mean, they're kids. Like it would be a utopia preschool if no one ever had a little potty accident. But we know when a child is not potty trained. When they show up in a pull up and you're like, it's just for today, it's like, sorry, so we do ask that you do respect that rule for us.
All right, Jenny.
All right, registration. So registration this year for camps is taking place all online. So the brochure will be released on Monday, March 29th. Usually there's an e-blast sent out, which the Park Ridge Park District email accounts emails out the link and the information, letting you know that it's been released. And then once you go to our website, www.prparks.org, it's usually once a new brochure comes out, that's usually the splash pad. So that's what's going to be on the main screen, highlighting that it was just released. The other place you can check for class listings is once you go into our registration site. So here's kind of our current landing page. This was right before the preschool open house. So you can see our website, and then up in that upper right-hand corner, there's the register button. If you click on that, it takes you to our registration site, which you can also view anything that's listed and viewable online that you'll be able to register for later. So you can check those 2 spots to see what's out and what's available. Registration will open to residents on Monday, April 5th at 8:30 a.m. online. And for non-residents on Friday, I believe the 9th is a Friday, April 9th at 8:30 a.m. for non-residents. I think the April 9th is right, and it's Friday. So 8:30 for both, online for both. The best way to access our online registration system is at a desktop computer. Using a phone, the registration system is not as user-friendly. There's a little more complicated to do it on a phone. So I highly recommend doing it on a laptop or desktop computer, something with a little more screen space. So then in order to register, you have to have an account. Obviously, if you registered for this program, you have an account, but in case you're encouraging anyone else to register, they would need to go to our website. So up in the upper right-hand corner on our website, to find forms, you would go to the notices and documents, which is also where the brochure would be listed if you can't find it on the main page. And then under forms and publications, it will list our brochure, and then it'll also list the family information form. And that would be used if a new family wanted to fill that out and create an account, which you'd have to have an account created prior to wanting to register. When you create your account, you need your proof of residency for residents only. And then if you're adding another child to a current account or adding any children to a new account, we also ask for their birth certificate. The other important thing that applies to everyone is verifying your residency. So what that means is that when you created accounts, you showed your proof of residency if you're a resident. So you showed your utility bill or your mortgage papers to show your address that you lived in Park Ridge. And then we issue you basically a pass that says you're a resident, so that the computer system will recognize you as a resident and allow you to register at resident timeframes for registration and at resident rates for programs. That residency pass lasts for 2 years. So after 2 years from when you initially got it, it will expire. And then once it expires, it'll default you to a non-resident. So if it wasn't current on April 5th and it counted you as a non-resident, even though you are a resident, you wouldn't be able to register because the computer system would consider you a non-resident, if that makes sense. So the way to check for that, I'm going to check for it anytime in the future. So typically the system sends you out a reminder, but a lot of times we miss those emails. They go to our spam or they go to our junk, or we just kind of dismiss it as not important. So it should remind you prior to it expiring. In case you're not sure when that is, the middle screen here with the blue line on top, that is what it looks like when you log in to your account at the Park District. And then to check whether you have residency status, your residency verification, and when it expires, up in like the middle circle there says My Accounts. And you go into My Accounts, and under My Accounts, the second circle there kind of in the middle says My History. And then the My History takes you to, you can see anything you've ever registered for, how many times you visit the pool, all kinds of crazy information. But the important way to check your residency verification is to put in your transaction dates. So on the left, which I have big circled there, there's the begin transaction date and the begin item date, something like that. So put those back a few years just to see what it says. And then under the module, there's a pass membership, because we consider this a pass, not a class that you registered for. So if you change that either to, right now it says system administrator, so it's a system admin module or pass membership module, and you search, and it'll pop up and show you your residency verification. So it says mine expired March 5th of 2020. So mine's currently expired and says status expired. And then if yours was expired, you would just contact the front office, update them with your current address, the same thing you got your residency and the proof of residency in the first place, driver's license, utility bill, something to prove that you're still a resident. And then they would update that, and it would be for the next 2 years. And then just make sure they update everybody in your household when they do it, because if they only update one person, then the rest of the people, it'll default back. So make sure everybody's updated and has the same date, and then you'll be good to go. And if you have any questions with that, the recreation office is the place to reach out to. Their email is right there kind of in the middle in the green, recreation@prparks.org, and they can help walk you through it. A lot of steps, but it's a good thing to know, good resource to have for you to check. All right, so when you're finally ready to register, we've logged in, and once you log in, this is kind of the screen that you see. You can search to find the programs, so that's one way to look, or underneath the splash pad picture, the splash picture there is camps, and you can click the camp program button and it'll take you to all of our camp listings. So you can find it both of those ways. If you click on the search, you can also search by location. You could enter in a keyword. So if you know the name of the camp, you could enter in part of that name to use the keyword search, or you can also search by the activity number. And as you can see kind of in the gray box here on the bottom, it's got an activity number and then a dash and an 01. You would use those first 7 digits, anything before the dash, to search for an activity number. And it would pop up anything that has that activity number. So there's a couple different ways to search keywords, that activity number, or by clicking the camp button. And just to review, registration. The brochure will be online March 29th. You can see that PDF on our website, or you can go to the registration page and see the listings of the different classes. And spoilers, sometimes the classes go up on the registration site before the PDF is released. So there might be a day or two that they're out before it's in the PDF if you really want to get a sneak peek. Registration is online. For residents, it's Monday, April 5th at 8:30 a.m. For non-residents, it's Friday, April 9th, also at 8:30 a.m. One of the things we talked about also is the wait lists. So just to make sure, when you're adding into a class, so if it says wait list, that means that the maximum has been reached for the class, but you can go on the wait list so that if spots open up, you'll be contacted. Once the wait list is full, the class will just say full. So if you see that it just says full and you can't add to the wait list, that's because whatever maximum was set for the wait list has been reached. So if the maximum for the wait list is 20 kids, then that means 20 kids have already added to the wait list, and there's not additional room on the wait list for a spot. So if it says full and the wait list isn't there, that's what's going on. The other important thing is that if you're just adding to wait lists, you want to make sure to still check out. So once you process your registration, you get a PDF of your receipts. The receipt will have that you're waitlisted and what waitlist number you are. If you don't get a PDF receipt, the system did not add you to the wait list. And you might think you're on the wait list, but you weren't. So make sure you get that PDF receipt from the registration system. It'll list that you are waitlisted and what your waitlist position is. So So just make sure that all those things that you thought you were waitlisted for are on that receipt. There are also payment plans available, and if you're interested in a payment plan, there should be some more information in the brochure that comes out with all the camp information, and you can also reach out to the Main Park front office for more information. The Park District also has a scholarship program. So on that main on the main website where the forms and publications were listed that has the brochure and the family information form, it also has the scholarship form. So when you go to our website, you click that forms and publications tab and you can find the scholarship form. So you can fill out that scholarship form and it has information on where to turn that in. And if you have any questions about that, you can also reach out to the Main Park front office with that recreation@prparks.org email. And then Molly mentioned before ePact. So ePact is our software that collects information about your child's emergency contact information, general contact information, pickup information on who is allowed to pick up your child, and then also allergy and medical condition information pertaining to your child. All that gets collected in a secure database, and then the staff is able to access it and have that information to make sure that they are providing the best situation for your child and know who to contact in case there was an emergency or any other reason we would need to contact you. Molly also stressed the importance of the email communication. So most of how we communicate with you in the summer is through email. A lot of the camps are kind of a car line drop off, which doesn't allow for a lot of staff and parent interaction because we're trying to move the cars or move the check-in and check-out line and keep it flowing. So a lot of our communication, almost all of it, is done through email. So also when you're logged in to your accounts, you can update your information and you can check to see which email is listed as the primary, the number one email, and make sure that that's the email that you want utilized for the summer. Lots of information.
Thank you, Jenny. I just wanted to go through a couple questions here. So for you, those of you on this call, this will be a good tip. Someone's asking about adding to your cart prior to April 5th. And so I have heard there is a little trick that you can, Jenny or Molly, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't share this information with everyone, but you can't add it into your cart, but you can add the classes to your wish list. And then come April 5th, if your items are in your wish list, you can put them into your cart. Jenny or Molly, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it's a little star. And then up at the top, next to, up at the very top bar, it'll have, welcome, and it says your name, that you're logged in, and it'll have like your little wish list at the top. Top secret information.
That was a good question. Another is camp start dates and end dates. So currently, I know for the learning camps, they start June 14th and go through August 6th. Jenny's, do yours also end at August 6th?
Yes.
I think some of our camps for the older kids will go through August 13th. Yeah. Because school will start the week of the 19th. If your residency is expired. So we talked about how to know. So once you find out if it's expired, go ahead and you can contact the Main Park Leisure Center at 847-692-5127. You can go to the front office. They just need to see your driver's license. You can also, if you wanted to, email a utility bill or a copy of your driver's license, and then they will just go ahead and update it. So you can call them, email, or stop in to see them.
I think all that contact information is on the next line.
I will do that right now. There we go. Now I lost my chat. So the registration starts April 5th. March 29th is when the brochure actually comes out. I think you're asking me, someone's asking me to repeat the start and stop date. So camp starts on June 14th, which is a Monday, and runs through August 6th for our early childhood age group. Our school age group goes through August 13th. The reason early childhood ends a week earlier is because those rooms need to flip over to become preschool rooms and get set up for our preschool open house. A big shout out to Miss Molly and Miss Jenny. Big thank you. I think I've made it through all the questions. One other question, I think they've left the call, but Molly, your learning camps are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, correct?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
And if you wanted to do a 5-day-a-week program, you could sign up for both of those. But just to keep the numbers more manageable, we decided to go that route. So.
Well, thank you all very much for coming tonight. We are thrilled to be thinking about summer with snow on the ground. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email any of us or contact the front office at recreation@pierreparks.org. We appreciate you being here. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.